Call to order of New Windsor Town Council meeting for June 4th, 2025. Everyone please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The town meeting is recorded by electronic means and the meeting will follow an agenda. Anyone who wished to have a matter placed on the agenda needed to submit the topic to the mayor in writing by the last Wednesday of the month, by the close of business day, which is 3 p.m. These items will be reviewed for approval. All right. Previous meeting minutes. Dana emailed the minutes out to us last week. Those minutes were for May 7th council meeting. She sent them out to everyone. Any comments or questions? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from May 7th council meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
And a second. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Approved. So approved. All right. Thank you, folks, for attending. We'll start with my first mayor's report. All right. For the month of May 10th, I attended the New Windsor Beautification Day. On the 14th, I attended the Lions Club Community Appreciation Dinner. On the 20th through the 24th, I volunteered at the Fireman's Carnival and the ice cream stand. Shook a lot of hands, gained a little weight. On the 25th, we had our Memorial Day services at Memorial Park. On the 25th, I also had the pleasure of having a brief conversation with Congressman Johnny Olszewski regarding the fiscal year 2026 community project funding, also known as CPF. Our submission for the funding was selected to proceed to the next phase. Consideration by Appropriation Committee. If approved, then we must wait to see if the budget is passed by Congress. If so, that total project award would be for $500,000. Committee approval will be at the end of the summer, and budget passage would probably occur at the end of the year. On May 28th, the MML Summer Planning, I attended the Summer Planning Committee meeting. That was a virtual meeting for the Carroll County chapter of the MML. And in May, I attended the May work sessions. Upcoming events for public safety and health. The upcoming meeting and events are for the Opioid Prevention Coalition. I think they're scheduled to have that on July 9th, but I have not gotten a notification of that yet. But that's a committee that I used to attend as a council member, and I hope to continue attending that. All right. Next on our agenda, our committee reports. I will say this, we have not finalized our committees yet, as we all discussed at the work session. We're going to do that hopefully at our next work session when we have everybody seated for our council. Okay, so in other words, when we get the final council member in place, then I'll set the committees. Right now, if you have a report on the existing committee that you're on, I'd be glad to hear from you on that. All right, so Public Works is, actually I skipped Councilwoman Schultz, and I apologize for doing that. Community Enhancement, Councilwoman Schultz.
So I have pretty much all the same events that I attended as the mayor, so the town work session and meeting. I also, for those of you who don't know, sit on the board for the Human Services programs of Carroll County, and I'm on the executive committee, so I attended both of those meetings. Of course, the Lions Club dinner. I didn't put the carnival on here, but I wasn't shaking any hands. I did go to it. My report's kind of lengthy, so I'm just going to skim over it. I'm going to mention that we finally were able to hold Town Beautification Day after a couple of rain events. I thanked people, I think twice in here, but I want to just say it out loud. I thanked the mayor, former Mayor Roop, all the council members, former council member Hull, the town staff, and many of their family members who showed up to help. We cleaned all the town parks. Former Mayor Roop painted several of the hydrants in town, red, white, and blue, which is part of our preparation for the traveling Vietnam War Memorial, which will be here in October. We were a small but mighty group, and I appreciate everyone's efforts. I am going to add an editorial comment that I was really disappointed that not even one resident showed up to help. So I really hope that if we keep doing that event, that will change. Memorial Day, as the mayor mentioned, former veteran, a New Windsor resident, Linda Buckingham Eichholz, who lives on Church Street, placed a new wreath at the park, at the Memorial Park, which is right next door. She grew up in New Windsor, and she was in the United States Naval Women's Reserve, or WAVES, in 1960. She joined right out of high school. And while she placed the wreath, the mayor read a few paragraphs about the history of Memorial Day, and St. Paul United Methodist Church rang their bells. If you haven't seen the video, it was live on Facebook. It's still, you can just go to the town Facebook page. It was a lovely, very well done event. So thanks to the Mrs. Eichholz, the mayor, Rebecca Price, who is at St. Paul, the town staff, because without them, we wouldn't have had the new wreath. Thank you. And then we had some local veterans and families who, and other residents who attended. And just to remind everybody, the Vietnam War Memorial, the traveling one, will be in New Windsor on the Carnival grounds, October 9th through 13th. It's a 3/5 scale of the actual wall in D.C. It's 6 feet tall in the middle and almost 300 feet from end to end. Many, many, many volunteers were needed for that event because it's 24/7 for the 4 days that it's here. And you should contact Babylon Vault, Tammy Ray, and we'll put this on Facebook too. It's 443-605-5461. That's it. Any questions?
No, thank you very much. Public Works, Councilman Hoffman.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Public Works highlights for the past month include, well, the wet weather in May certainly slowed down the grass cutting. However, on the dry days, the Public Works crew was out in full force trying to keep up with the always growing grass. The Public Works crew picked up the yard waste on the 4 scheduled days in May. Since we did receive so much rain in May, the Public Works crew made special efforts to ensure the storm drains remained clear throughout town. Public Works installed the Veterans Banner prior to Memorial Day. They also mulched Memorial Park and had it looking its best for the Memorial Day ceremony. Public Works installed and removed all the signs necessary, ensuring a smooth process for the town elections held in May. Public Works pressure washed and cleaned up the pavilion near the tennis courts. And Public Works took advantage of some of the raining days and completed a safety training course. The Planning Commission, we rescheduled their May meeting, which fell on the holiday, to June 2nd, where they met this past Monday. The Planning Commission approved the Lions Club Park Improvement Project, verifying that the improvements are consistent with the New Windsor Comprehensive Plan. This approval is necessary for the program open space funding application that the town circuit rider, Mike Reynolds, is leading. The Planning Commission is still open to receive letters of interest for its vacant seat until 16 June. The Planning Commission is performing what may be their last group review of the comprehensive plan. Tables, charts, maps, along with a large percent of the verbiage have been changed. The next scheduled meeting is Monday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. here in Town Hall. In Councilman highlights, I participated in all the monthly Town Council and Planning Commission scheduled meetings, participated in the New Windsor Beautification Day along with my spouse Deborah, attended the monthly State Highway Administration virtual meeting on the town streetscape project, and attended the Lions Club Community Appreciation Dinner.
Thank you very much. All right. Economic Development, Councilman Frock.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Very similar meeting attendance. I attended the council meeting on 5/7, participated in Town Beautification Day with my wife and my two daughters. We then attended the Lions Club book reading on the 10th. Their next one is June 14th at 10 a.m. It's a special last one of the summer. They have big plans for it. Should be a lot of fun. If you have kids, bring them out, have some fun, get free books. I think they had ice cream or snow cones last year. I attended the council work session on the 19th. Excuse me. Continued working with Public Works Director Myers regarding the fleet replacement. I've begun working on possible walking path routes for the couple that I brought up at the work session. We'll have more info later. And then I began conversations with Master Deputy McGinnis and his sergeant to collect information regarding an increased law enforcement presence to help with traffic concerns. This info will be presented at the next work session. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Folks, I need to add in one other policy that we hold for tonight's meeting, and that is that the meeting is open to the public, as you all know. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Anyone wanting to speak is requested to sign in and shall be a New Windsor resident. We ask when you speak that you state your name and address clearly and into the lovely new microphone that we received. Please be advised that your time is limited to 3 minutes. Thank you very much. All right, now let's see. I will say this, one other thing about the committees. If I'm leaving that open to suggestions for other committees for the council members. So I didn't want to make it sound like I had kind of etched in stone what the committees will be. We are going to keep Public Works and, we'll keep the basis, water and sewer, we're going to keep those. But if you guys come up with something that you think is a little more appropriate to benefit the town, we can certainly consider that, okay? So I wanted that to be clear that I didn't have a hard line idea about what we were going to do in terms of what those committees would be, all right? Town Manager Dye, it is your turn, sir.
Okay, a couple things. Main Street 31, Carroll 31 on Main Street and High Street paving. CJ Miller will start paving and overlaying those two roads this Monday, June 9th, weather permitting. On-street parking will need to be curtailed during the milling and paving operations, and no parking signs will be posted. We'll also get that posted on the town Facebook and website. There will be a flagging operation set up daily, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 p.m. SHA has instructed CJ Miller to make sure the school buses have priority during the morning arrival and afternoon dismissal. Carroll County schools are done for the summer Friday, June 13th, so we have that one. The new schedule for used trash service beginning 6/1/25 and running through Labor Day. Trash and recycling crews will begin their route at 4 a.m. This change is in response to the Maryland Heat Stress Standards that became effective September 30th, 2024. And this has been posted on Facebook, town Facebook and website, and will be included in the summer newsletters that go out at the end of June. Along that same lines, a couple of public works staff, public works supervisor, maintenance 1 and maintenance 2, that's Alan, Josh, and Dustin. We'll be adjusting their work schedules to 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Beginning this week and running through Labor Day according to the Maryland Heat Stress Standards. Upcoming meetings, the Monday, June 16th, the work session. Just a reminder, I'll be out of town for that. And Wednesday, July 2nd, council meeting, and Monday, July 1st, work session.
Thank you. All right. Public Works Director Myers.
Good evening, everyone. Blue Ridge Pump Station is now fully operational and it's near completion. The only thing the contractors have to do yet is to paint the bollards inside the station, and then that station is ready to go. We had a water leak on New Windsor Road. We were able to repair or replace the line today. It was a galvanized line. Anytime we identify a galvanized line that's the public responsibility. Under Maryland law, we have to replace it. So we replaced the whole line and then installed a new meter pit and took care of that. Atlee Ridge sewer assessment. So Blue Ridge is done, and Atlee Ridge would be the second sewer station that's just as old as Blue Ridge that we would look at maybe replacing. Based on the cost of Blue Ridge, it's going to be a big project to take on. So we're looking at alternative solutions to kind of buy us some time with the stations, maybe a little bit of minimal investment to get us by for 5 or so years while we work on critical planning to get that station upgraded. We've been working with Clerk Mangus on some operating procedures and working independently to make sure that the town Public Works SOPs, standard operating procedures, are updated based on new staffing levels. So we've been working on that. And then we're also working on paving for 2025. We want to get the state paving over with and then start town paving probably directly after that. Targeted roads include Springdale Avenue. There's the portion that the town owns. So that's probably a mill and overlay. Manning, Union Bridge Road, Tibbetts Lane, and Pilsen. So Tibbetts Lane is in our industrial area, and that road is getting in pretty bad shape, and it's a pretty large road, so we want to take care of that before we have any base issues. So we plan to utilize cooperative purchasing agreements to complete the work and have received pricing comparable to 2022 rates. And that's an excellent outcome for the town, given the rising construction costs nationwide. We have just over $202,000 of highway user money, and we feel confident that we can pave all the roads and remain under the available funds. So our calculations show we would be somewhere around $203,000 worst case scenario. That's GAB and base and extensive work. So we could come in significantly lower than that and then transfer the additional highway user funds for a larger paving project later on. Once the current paving projects are completed, it will be necessary to discuss options for Lampert Avenue and Maple Avenue. Both roads are in need of repaving, however, the water lines beneath them must be replaced before the paving could take place. Town staff remain hopeful in finding a solution to address these deteriorating roads. We're actively pursuing grant opportunities and exploring all other available options. So at the beginning or at the end of last year, we did some sewer relining and stuff to kind of set ourselves up as far as maybe paving one travel lane and then having the other, lane not paved because the water line's there and will need replaced. So we're looking at all possibilities with that. War Memorial.
Wayne, could you just, or Gary, want to just explain for anybody that doesn't know what highway user revenue is, so people know where that funding comes from?
It's,
I mean, I know, but I just want.
The state that is generated through the gasoline tax throughout the state and various municipalities based on the length of mileage road for each municipality.
So that's just, everybody knows, that's just money that we get from the state, and we have to use it for roads.
Roads only.
That's the only thing we can
Lots,
use it
not
for.
anything else.
Right.
Town.
Thank you.
And we rarely do we use general fund money for paving.
Right.
We usually can support our paving projects based on highway user revenue, which is great. So that's been very helpful for the town. And it's been impactful because most all the in-town roads have been paved. And then, Lampert and Maple will be the next set, and then we'll start working on the developments. War Memorial, the War Memorial pointing is complete. Thank you to resident and small business owner Ed Seibel for volunteering his time and materials to complete the job. Ed came right in before we did the wreath ceremony and got everything pointed up and looking good for us. So we definitely appreciate that. Lions Club Park, Public Works finished installing a water meter to track use at the park after a water leak late last fall. We actually had a resident call in and water was running out the door. So there's like a ball valve that isn't below like the frost line on the park. And so we had to put an exterior meter in, so we had a low level drain point. So that was the first time that happened. So we also had to replace some of the interior plumbing. The new plumbing configuration will help with winterizing the park and tracking use using the census platform. So our new smart meters will actually track if there's a leak and indicate through a radio signal to our handheld, hey, there's a potential leak here. And so that's something that we do when we do a water system audit. We can ping devices that have errors on them and then go out and then retrieve whether or not somebody has a potential leak. So we're going to utilize that and try to track all the water that we pump and all the water we sell and try to manage that as much as we can. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much, sir. Community Deputy McGinnis, how are you?
Hook up to that new microphone.
Be the first one.
Who set this up?
Well,
It's adjustable.
They set you up all right.
Yeah, they did.
Make sure it's on. It's on.
Bet Gary.
I was going to say it was Kevin.
Yeah, he didn't know which
All
Kevin.
right, we're good now. I think I see it. Right.
The other Kevin.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I see some new faces here. It's nice to be with everybody tonight. So between May 7th and June 4th, 2025, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office received 40 calls for service within the town of New Windsor. Out of those calls for service, 4 were found to be reportable. On May 18th, 2025, at 2:01 a.m., the Sheriff's Office was dispatched to the 300 block of Main Street for a domestic. Upon arrival, the altercation was determined to be verbal only. Through the process of the investigation, it was alleged that a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old had been left unattended for a small lapse of time. Child Protective Services were contacted, even though CPS is investigating this matter. Child Protective Services, CPS. This case remains open pending further leads. On May 20th, 2025, 2:45 p.m., the Sheriff's Office responded to the 3000 block of Atley Ridge for a late reported assault. A physical altercation took place between 2 neighbors who have had disputes over the property line and grass mowing in the past. During the initial investigation, it was undetermined who the primary aggressor was, as they both had conflicting stories. Both were referred to the District Court Commissioner's Office for charges and both filed charges, as well as peace orders. That case is closed. On May 23rd, 2025 at 4:30 a.m., the Carroll County Sheriff's Office Crisis Response Team executed a knock and announce search and seizure warrant in the 100 block of Church Street. A fugitive from justice was taken into custody without further incident. So if some of you were woken up at 4:30 a.m., that was probably why on Church Street. I just wanted to let everybody know that. On May 27, 2025 at 1:01 a.m., the Sheriff's Office responded to the 100 block of High Street for an assault. This was later found to be a juvenile experiencing a mental health crisis. A referral was completed to the Department of Juvenile Services for further investigation. And also, for some reason, my reporting system doesn't show the vehicle collisions because sometimes I know about them, obviously. I think you've all seen a few quite recently down at Church and High. So I just wanted to put them both on here, both the ones that I was able to pull up for last month. Now, I think we missed one from the previous month because there was another one down there at Church and High as well. But on 5/23/25 at 13:54 hours, a minor collision at the 7-Eleven occurred. Both vehicles had cosmetic damage only. And then on 5/25/25 at 14:20 hours, a vehicle collision at Church and High Street resulted in disabling damage, and that's why I put multiple recent, just to remind myself of that. I was actually supposed to get the flyers out for National Night Out today, but we have just been running like crazy today. I've actually done assistant patrol. I took 3 different calls for them because it's just been, I guess it's warmer weather. So I want to get those out as soon as possible. So I emailed Dana the flyer because I wanted to put the town's logo on it as well. And I don't even know if she's, in fact, I think she has, but like Gary, I think Gary had an email for me. I just haven't checked my emails yet today, but I'll get all that squared away here soon. I know that Kim has sent out the emails for National Night Out. We've had a few registrations. Just wanted to remind everybody about that. And we have some new partners fresh in the room as well that hopefully will be good for National Night Out. And we look forward to working with them in the near future. So, yeah, everything. That's all I got.
Deputy McGinnis, one question. National Night Out is
Put me on the spot. Tuesday, August 5th.
August 5th. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
Tuesday, August 5th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the New Windsor Carnival grounds, right where the carnival takes place.
I have a question for you too, Deputy McGinnis. Because both of the two accidents were, right over here in front of my house.
Sure.
I had a business also show me the video from both of them. And I just wondered, and maybe the town manager or the town public works director would know the answer to this question. Is there any way of getting data on how, like, we sort of were discussing which way there seems to be more of a problem. And it's my opinion that it's people coming up,
Sure.
but I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, they're both difficult streets to see out of.
Yeah.
Like one of the accidents was a cement truck took the front of a car off.
I saw that, and that was right in front of your house.
It was right, but she basically
car was
pulled
going-
she kind of rolled right into the intersection without stopping, which I agree, you do have to kind of come into the intersection, but you can't just like roll out there, and that was what she did. But anyway, I just would like to start, I think we need to start asking some questions about, because that's like twice in a week and a half.
Absolutely, and that intersection that's why I keep the speed signs out right here, because
Yeah.
I want to remind people to slow down, because you can't see out.
No, you can't.
And by the time, but everybody needs to stop first and then slowly creep forward. That was the way it was done, before, and it seemed to work pretty well. But I think recently everybody's just in such a rush that they don't stop until they're past the stop line.
Right.
And then that creates a collision, like with the cement
But that
truck.
cement truck, if she had been one more foot up, she would have probably been killed.
Well, that 100%.
Yeah.
And not only that,
Yeah.
I think the cement truck may have been going a little fast. I don't know, but I
Yeah.
saw the video as well. But also, she blatantly ran a stop sign. So,
Yeah.
that happens, and
Yeah.
that's why, so I brought up the crosswalk situation, and Kevin, you helped me out with that. I think we presented it to the state, and I think it's just part of the streetscape
Yeah, we hope,
project.
yeah.
But, that's why I wanted to make some changes to that intersection and kind of bring some things up, especially with the residents that walk there. They feel like they are unsafe. There's some residents that live right across the street from you that feel unsafe when they walk. in the morning.
I don't blame them.
And,
I feel
think
unsafe
it would be
walking over
great-
here for a meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would be
Mhm.
great to get flashing pedestrian cross signs there. I think that will put people on their toes a little more, because that seems to work. That seems to get your attention. But I don't have all the answers, and I know that the state had talked about. I've heard rumors that they're trying to make the road skinnier,
Yeah.
so that I guess people
To slow
can
it
see out
down,
of there
yeah.
easier. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the solution is, but I know that I can look at the data.
Yeah, I'd like to just know, are there more accidents, people coming off? Are there more, I mean, it's most of the time people coming from the Church Street sides that are at fault, not all the time, but
Yeah.
most. I mean, one of the things that I see, not to get on, because I live there, I see people doing U-turns right in the middle of that intersection all the time.
That is so unsafe. Yeah.
What are you doing?
So what I'll do is I'll look at all the collisions and report it in that intersection. I'll try to get all those details to you. I'll assign myself a homework assignment and send you an email with all that data.
And so I don't forget this, I have one other question related to traffic. So I noticed the state changed the speed limit out here, which is great, but I kind of thought they might put some of those like orange flags on the things or something to sort of let people know. Is that something we have to ask them to do?
Yeah, so
Could you do
we would
that?
have to ask the state safety team to do that. The other thing in regards to the intersections here in front of your house, we would have to petition the state to do a traffic study.
Okay,
So that's something we could do.
could we do that, please?
Yeah.
Wayne, is the parking controlled by the state as well? Like if they're,
Setback requirements are all.
or
state
if they're allowed to be parked there kind of deal? That's all state controlled?
And
That's
they've
all state
changed that.
controlled.
Yeah, and they've
So
changed it several times. There used to be a lot more spots. They've taken several away already.
Sometimes it has a lot to do with whether it's a truck or an SUV, or maybe an offloading delivery truck, and sight distance issues because you can't see around them.
Right.
But quite honestly, people run the stop sign all the time. So I would say most of the accidents that are caused there are this way.
Yep.
You know? And it's because people are running the stop signs.
I agree.
So back to this the state project, as far as we know, the latest plans have that intersection and this intersection bumped out 4 locations. So that'll improve sight distance, it'll narrow down the traffic and the speed on Main Street there. And we've also talked to them about, there's going to be 4-way pedestrian crossing there and getting the flashing pedestrian lights.
That would be
Still,
great.
as far as we know, that's still on the state highway.
That's great.
Excellent.
And one more question. Is it possible to put one of the speed flashers out on the hill? Because I do slow down to the new speed limit and people come right up to me because they're like, they're not used to it. Or can we?
I talked to him about that briefly, so there's no way that we can mount them right now.
Okay.
Because we lag them into their.
Because we don't have a
Which is
pole
state
out here.
property, so I don't want to drill holes through state property. That'd probably be a bad idea. I
No.
don't know if we can put like a post in the ground up there, but we might have to get approval from the state in order to do that.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't
Because
have,
it's on the state road. I think we kind of get by here in town. You're
'Cause
supposed to
it's-
have state approval before you put those signs out.
oh,
So I think before we put it out there, it would be good to get their approval for it.
Well, Carroll County has those other speed signs. Can we request that they bring them in since the ones that
they're
are
on like a little
portable
car.
on the side
Yeah.
that they mount that have the,
it's reusable to me.
not the big, not the message ones, but they actually have the
Trailer.
trailer speed signs that they could bring, and since that speed was changed recently, maybe they would be amenable to bring that out.
We can reach out to them.
Do you want to request that through the state then, the trailers?
I thought that they were Carroll counties, but if
Well,
the
Carroll
state
County has a
is
state
state,
highway
right.
division.
so that's fine.
Well, real quick, so we have one trailer, it's an LPR cam trailer, so it actually scans the license plates and everything else, and we put them in high traffic areas so we can find stolen plates and vehicles and things of that nature. So I can reach out to our guys to see if they can move it up here, for a extended amount of time to try and maybe get some data out there on Thursday.
Or just to let people know they're speeding, because
We,
in their defense, if you don't know that, like, there's no flags or anything, if you're not really paying attention, you don't realize that it's way further out now, that it's gone down to 40.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, I
I mean,
agree.
you should know, but, I understand why when you're used to driving something. The only reason I noticed it is because we had talked about it at a council meeting. I was like, oh, shoot, slow down.
But I think Dave was referring you were referring to the county,
Yeah.
like Carroll County.
Yeah,
Maybe
that makes
it's
sense. That makes
division.
sense.
Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, and we also have speed cameras. I can present those to my sergeant. We actually have additional at the office. Like, they're not town property, obviously, the 2 here in town are town property, but we actually have additional ones just like that at the office with their net division, their neighborhood enforcement traffic division. You've probably seen that unmarked F-150 driving around and the unmarked Durango driving around. So they are part of our net division. They do increased traffic enforcement, so I can bring that up to them, see if that's something that they can set out there. Certainly.
I mean, one of the biggest problems we have in town is speeding.
I know.
Unfortunately, when they glass out that road, it's worse.
I know.
People will drive as fast as they feel comfortable when they get that road curve.
Give them tickets. Right.
I gave a few today.
Good, thank you.
So I think that's my.
All right, thank you, Deputy McGinnis.
Thank you so much. Sorry for all the questions, Kevin. Thank you.
All right, West Carroll, I don't want to make any assumptions. Darnella, you want to recite for West Carroll? That's my wife. All right, let's see. I will say this about West Carroll. I'll reach out to them, like we mentioned in our previous Music on the Main meeting, to see if they want to participate in our Music on the Main, all right? And I'll check with them to see if they have anything that they need us to address. All right, Fire Chief. Okay.
The report, okay.
Okay. All right, Treasurer's Report.
I'll read that for Dana since she had to leave. So, tonight, and order for tonight, there are 6 policies and procedures for the council to review before the June work session. Please take some time to review those. Dan spent a lot of time working on those. Moving forward, once these have been approved, we'll do another batch of 6 or 8 policies and procedures. We will be added for future review. So,
I'm sorry, Gary, you said before the work session?
did you? My mic is well.
Uh-oh. Our new technology's not working.
That's separate. This is a plug. So the first thing she said was there was 6 policies and procedures in the folder for review by council and mayor before the June work session. So please take some time to review those. Moving forward, she's going to do another batch of 6 or 8 at a time and put those on the agenda moving forward. The town council vacancy ads have been and continue to be posted. The deadline to submit your letter of interest and candidacy. Registration forms are due to the clerk treasurer by 3 p.m. on Monday, June 9th. So far, we have 1 letter of candidacy registration, and that has been forwarded to mayor and council for review. As a reminder, we've asked all candidates to attend the June 16th work session meeting. And Music on Main will be Saturday, October 4th. If you're interested in becoming a vendor or volunteering in any way, please reach out to Town Hall.
Gary, if you could, not to make more work for Dana, but I did take a quick look at the policies that were in the folder, and without any kind of backstory to them, so I don't know what changed and what is different. You read them and they all look fine, but I don't know. I'm assuming some of those have made changes to things that they're in there, and it would be helpful, I think, if we had a what changed and why. So
I thought most of them I think are new.
Yeah, we didn't have anything in place.
Some of them are new, but I'll check with her as to what was existing, if there was, and then provide what changes were on both field or individual.
thank you, appreciate that.
So, Town Manager Di, let me ask you, so she wasn't looking for a decision by the council prior to that meeting? Just for discussion?
Asking you to review what she's prepared for discussion at the June work.
Okay,
So it's like homework.
okay.
I believe there's a subfolder with those in, with those 6 or
Yeah.
8
There is.
policies in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Okay. Let's see, water and sewer billing clerk.
Hi, everybody. As you know, water bills were due April 30, and we had an influx of delinquents. We had 131 past due as of 5/14. 5/15, 70 delinquent letters were sent, and as of today, 111 are still delinquent. I'm not sure where the disconnect was, but I do know that we have gotten a lot of phone calls about confusion of the new water bill.
Oh.
So we're gonna give them a little slack. I did send some bills. I have not given any shut-off notices or any door hangers, giving them a little bit of leeway. But I will be sending out another batch of reminders at the end of this week or beginning of next. The water bills were due April 30 if you pay the full thing. If you pay monthly, they're due on the 30th. And the bottom tickets are your monthly payments. If you're not paying monthly, don't use those tickets. Use what's due up at the top. And please, if you have any questions, call me. I'm happy to work with everybody. That's it.
Do you presume that the tickets at the bottom are the confusion?
I believe so.
Okay.
That's what the confusion has been. They don't, even if they come into the office and they have it, they're like, what part do I give you? I don't know what this means. So
Right.
it's just new.
Yeah.
They'll get used to it. They'll learn it. And they'll get used to it.
All right, so once again, if you're paying in full, you don't use the tickets.
Correct.
If you're paying in installments, that bill is due the 30th of the following month. Is that correct?
If you're paying in installments, they're due the 30th of each month after you
Correct.
receive that water bill. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Correct.
For May and June.
All right. Thank you very much.
So before you jump off there, then if the people are paying in full and there's no ticket to submit with their check, is that causing confusion? Because typically you submit something with the check, and I think we had a little discussion about this when we first were presented that, and I brought up that exact situation, that we need to have something on there that someone can pay full and have something to submit.
Now, some folks are just sending in the whole thing. Most folks, honestly, if they mail it or drop it in the box, they either just write their account number on the check, and it's just the check, which is perfectly fine, as long as I have your account number. I always match names, addresses, account numbers, amounts, just to verify. But yeah, there was a little confusion with that.
All right, thank you. I'm sure you got it.
One more thing, Kim.
Yes,
New rates and such are effective June 1st.
July
July
1.
1st, yeah.
Yes, new water rates and the tiered.
Right.
And the tiered will be effective July 1, so that'll be shown on the bill sent in September.
Right.
Or
Right,
beginning of
the
October.
one that's, yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely.
Code enforcement officer.
Whatever.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
For the month of May, my updates, I had 3 complaints. One was tall grass that needed to be cut. Another was a standing water and unkept pool. And then I have some complaints about trash and abandoned, unkept property. Notices were sent to all of those. 2 have been amended already, the grass. I'm continuing with untagged abandoned and inoperable vehicles in town. I do have access now to run tags and VIN numbers. So violations will not only go into property owners, they will also be going to vehicle owners if I can obtain that information. I had 3 letters sent reference tall grass. 2, like I said, have been amended. 1 is still pending. I have 5 letters pending to be sent for unregistered, untagged vehicles, which I obtained all the information from the tag system. The complaint log is updated, but apparently you guys don't have access to the folder that I've been putting it in. That's what kind of, but we'll discuss that. I'm getting a lot of complaints about grass over 12 inches. If you see grass over 12 inches, it is out of the ordinary. Let me know. That simple letter seems to be fixing that rather quickly in less than the 30 days that's allotted. I now am scanning pictures and including pictures on violations so that it's documented what was observed the date that the violation was issued. I'm getting a lot of response via email, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone's cooperation when a violation is sent, reaching out to me and letting me know. That's really all I have. I do have 3 separate letters to be sent to a commercial property in town referencing 3 major issues. Hopefully, if I address them individually, we will get some response. Does anybody have any questions?
No, but I will make a comment about tall grass. Obviously, with all the rain that we've received, I mean, folks are trying to play catch up with that. But I would ask the citizens that can hear what I'm requesting, please don't cut your grass and blow it into the street. I'm starting to see that around town. I think I've seen that, not as much this last year, but I'm seeing it more this year. Certainly, we don't want to do anything that clogs our precious water system up, so, or our drainage system. So, am I on the right page with that? Okay. All right.
I have a comment too. Someone complained to me about, this is where I need Public Works Director Myers to affirm what I think I know. Somebody complained to me about the town not trimming something in one of the strips next to the sidewalk. And I believe that that's the resident's responsibility.
That is
So,
correct.
so if you have a sidewalk on your property, the grass on the other side between you and the street is your responsibility, and that includes if there's a fire hydrant or a pole or a crack that grass is growing in, that's up to you to take care of with a weed whacker or whatever. The town does not maintain those.
Yeah, the property
Thanks.
owner is responsible for all the way up to the curbway, including the sidewalk on your property lines. So you guys are responsible for clearing the sidewalks, maintaining the grass and sidewalks.
Thank you very much. All right. Heidelberg is not here.
Right?
If I try.
All right. Mr. Coe? were you stepping in for the,
I'm not, but I can talk. I'm a good yes.
oh.
Does he have a
Well,
microphone?
If you wouldn't mind, please.
Good evening.
No, it's only for the people online, Dave.
Good evening, sirs. Just a couple of things on the fire department. First off, thank the New Windsor community in general, the town of New Windsor, and all the many civic organizations within the town for their annual support of our carnival this past May. It was a very wet event, but we survived through it, and a lot of you guys were there and worked it, so I greatly appreciate it, and the department greatly appreciates it. For the month of May, we had 66 EMS calls and 39 fire calls. We're having an upcoming all-you-can-eat crab feed September 13th, 2025. The information is posted on the board out front of the station, and will be on the website here shortly. And then also, just as a general reminder to the public, there is a burn ban in place for Carroll County that started June 1st and goes through September 1st. So no open burning for the entire June 1st to September 1st.
No fire pit? No fire pits?
So you can have fire pits. Fire pits are legal,
Okay.
but no like burning
Oh,
big brushes.
debris.
Limbs,
I got you.
Fire
Okay.
pits are literally legal. Cooking campfires are legal, but none of the other big burn stuff.
Man, you almost ruined my social calendar.
Sorry. Good. So, just FYI.
All right. Yes, sir.
If I could just add something about the grass clippings real quick.
Sure.
That's okay. So county ordinance 92-6065, deposit of refuse on streets. It shall be unlawful for any person to cast, throw, or sweep any trash, refuse, leaves, or sweepings into any of the streets. The penalty of a person violating may be subject to a civil infraction punishable by a fine not to exceed $500, or upon conviction be guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by a fine not to exceed $500, or imprisonment not to exceed 6 months at the Carroll County Corrections Center. So a lot of people don't know that's actually a violation, but it is. So.
Okay.
So there you have it. All right. Thank you, sir. All right.
New business.
All right. We don't have any new business items, so we'll jump right to old business. Wastewater treatment, E&R upgrades. Town manager, go.
So, the Jason Lytle and Bradley Hogan with GOD were here at the 18th work session to discuss the wastewater treatment plant. E&R upgrade, PowerPoint from that meeting is tonight forward. We're looking to get some direction and discussion from the council on how to proceed with the submittal of the PER in terms of additional capacity. Refer to email from Bradley with the E&R summary and recommendations, which was forwarded to the mayor and council on June 3rd, to review prior to discussion tonight. Current wastewater treatment capacity, permitted capacity is 115,000 gallons per day. GMB discussed a couple options. One being expansion of capacity to 125,000 gallons per day. They have confidence that MD would consider the additional 10,000 gallons as reasonable growth. Another option is to expand capacity to 165,000 gallons per day. Likely MDU will not consider the additional 40 for a total of 50,000 increase as reasonable growth. Can submit the PER with an expansion to 125,000 gallons and reserve an additional 40,000 for future. For their recommendation, is to submit the PER with an expansion to 165 gallons per day, and with the hope that MDU will fund without reducing or prorating funding, meaning they accept that as reasonable growth. In the email from Bradley, a couple advantages to that, their recommendation would be that we get the town along. 165,000 gallons is a long-term number that we work with county planning staff to get through. That includes both fill-in lots and then future areas within our boundary, growth area boundary. So getting that 165,000 gallon request to MD would get those figures to them, and they would be recognized as a state, at least for our future growth. Secondly, it would provide an opportunity for the town to see if grant funding is favorable to the project, which would accommodate the town's need for flow expansion. If it's determined that it is favorable, the town could simply proceed with the project that will meet current and long-term needs in terms of capacity. And then lastly, if it's not in favor for the town, not favorable for the town, this approach will likely provide an easier path forward to pivot to a more affordable project. They feel that MDE would likely review a scaling down of the initial project into a phased approach more favorably in terms of grant eligibility than it would scaling up to a larger project, a larger flow after initial. There's some advantages, and that is their recommendation. The email is pretty detailed in terms of the summary, and the PowerPoint is in there. Basically, the differences, we talked about last time, and Councilman Huffman had some questions. There was several different prices or cost, ultimate cost to the town, which is a little bit confusing, but the MDE looks at a couple different ways of determining eligibility and therefore funding. And that's pretty much the breakdown of the differences between those different amounts.
Any questions?
If we were to pursue 165 and pay for it up front, is that something that could be recouped if a developer did come in and say, well, we paid for this so we could bring the development in, so we need X amount to kind of recoup that expense?
Yeah, that we could, if we have a developer coming in with a property and we can have an agreement, we can talk about our developer rights and responsibilities that we put in place, and we can put that in the agreement before we allow the development. This sewer capacity has been paid for already, and you have to repay that to the town.
Also, in the event that that were a property that is now currently in town, that could also go in the annexation agreement, which is separate from the LRA.
Right.
Very, very similar, but
right.
A different step in the process.
Okay.
So we talked about, Town Manager Di and I talked about this. One of the ideas that we're looking tonight is to get a decision on moving forward with this, knowing that what we do isn't going to be etched in stone, meaning that we could make changes along the way. So I think there's a desire to try to have some direction from the council on that. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
Well, remember that Jason and Bradley mentioned that this is a living fluid document at this point. You know, the council decision, the direction is not final right now. You know, there will be discussions moving forward once they submit the PER between the town, GMB, our engineer, and MDE. MDE will ultimately provide the preliminary funding eligibility, and based on the proposed PER, and the town can modify the PER after preliminary eligibility determination at any point during the design. So it's really just a direction to move forward with what version of the PER you will want in terms of future.
I see no reason to not pursue 165,000 then.
I agree.
If we can change it at any time after we see the figures come in, if the funding's not there, then we can go another route.
Yeah, one thing that helps me with that decision is if we did just go with 125, we may not be able to ever get to the 165.
Right.
We may be shooting ourselves in the foot at that point, where we have a better opportunity to scale back than we do to move forward in the future. So I would agree that the 165 is probably the way to go.
Even if we have to scale back, they mentioned that you're establishing that that's what you want eventually, and you can get it later.
So I guess we need a motion to proceed with that. So do I hear a motion to accept GMB's recommendation to submit 165,000 gallons per day as our submission.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. All right, let's see. Thank you for addressing that. All right, item number 2 on the old business.
Okay, so, number 2 on old business is 211 High Street, next door here, overall condition of the building. There's several critical exterior concerns with the building. Don't know exactly how old the building is, but it's approximately 100 years old. There have not been many repairs or upgrades done to that building. Going down through some things. The windows were replaced approximately in 2012, Wayne. They're likely okay. They're actually probably the best feature on the exterior of that building. The roof is flat. It's approximately 30 years old with history of leaks. Recommended full replacement to prevent future damage. The exterior is made of brick. The mortar joints need to be pointed to preserve the integrity and prevent water and insect infiltration. Water infiltration and mold are present in the upstairs portion of the building. Exterior lead remediation. There's lead-based paint present on the exterior of the woodwork on the front, and the entire building will be subject to the current code and public health compliance prior to any use or renovation. Per the state and the town's landlord policy, the entire building will be subject to the current lead requirements, and certifications are required for this. Foundation, again, it's approximately 100 years old. Do not know the condition of that, and assessment would require a structural engineer to know for sure. Miscellaneous electric service upgrades to current standard. This would be direct vary versus overhead lines, which is how they do things currently. And lastly, in terms of issues, there's been a bee problem for many years in the front eaves of the building here. We did get a price to relocate the bees only for $1,750, but then the decorative molding fascia would need to be replaced so that the bees don't come back. Typically, this is done by a separate contractor, and the timing of removal of bees and fixing the facade is critical. We did get a price from a contractor who happens to also be a beekeeper for $2,800. That would include removal and relocation of the bees and removal of the decorative molding fascia on the front of the building. Big question is the extent of the bee infestation.
Right.
Hopefully they've not gotten into the interior joists, which run front to back perpendicular to Main Street. You really won't know that until you get up there and you get the queen and the rest of the hive are museum. So following our Director Myers and myself and my estimates based on experience in similar projects, these are not contractor estimates. So the roof repair replacement would be between $25,000 and $30,000. Brick repouring and repair would be $40,000 to $50,000. Lead paint abatement, $10,000 to $15,000. Miscellaneous electric service upgrades can be $30,000 to $50,000. Bee removal, I mentioned, would be $28,000. That would take care of both removal and removal of the facade. Foundation assessment, you have to get a price from the structural engineer. I can't even estimate what that might be. So the low and high total is $107,800 to $147,800 plus the foundation assessment.
Right.
On the exterior of that building. It's very important to discuss these issues, determine if repair, replacement can and should be done, and how to fund these improvements. Recommend deferring all interior renovations until these issues are resolved and funding sources are determined.
All right, thank you for that. I asked Town Manager Dye to put this on the agenda for a couple reasons. Number one, we were reviewing the MOU for occupancy, it was an overall review of the MOU, all right? And the question is, it sounds like there are some things that we should pay attention to because the town's going to be responsible for the maintenance of the exterior portion of the building. I want to make sure that when we move forward with this project, we're not kind of setting ourselves up for potential issues down the road with the foundation. I mean, it may not be, I just want to cover all our bases. So, I did have some ideas about I was actually going to say if we rented to take care of the initial thing which started this conversation with you and I were the bees. To take care of that, if we rented the lift and had that, the Beekeepers Association of Carroll County come out and do it, I thought they could do that for free. But
You get that information from the beekeepers. I don't think they would do it even with lift.
they wouldn't want to work off of our lift? Okay.
It was too high, if I recall.
Okay.
I think it's a liability issue,
Yeah,
because if we supply.
That's why I sat up straight.
Yeah, well,
I saw
your
her.
face.
I saw her doing that.
That was funny.
For those of you who don't know, Michelle is our attorney.
Yeah, as those words were coming out of my mouth, she was like. All right. Well, in all seriousness, I don't know. I don't know
Well, in all seriousness, the town owns that building.
Yeah.
And we've owned that building for a mighty long time. And
Right.
it sounds like we have not been doing maintenance on that building
Right.
for a long time. And now all of a sudden we want to use it for another use, and all of a sudden we got $150,000 worth of possible, we've been doing things halfway in that building. We had that beehive removed a couple years ago and left a gaping hole in there, like they're not going to come back. Okay, so the town has been delinquent in performing maintenance on that building. I mean, that's the bottom line. And so if we need to look at, the foundation up and come up with some funding sources, I think we better get on the stick, because whether we have the fire company come in there and make apartments or not, we still own that building.
For sure.
I don't want to fall it down on.
Well, the second reason, thank you for your comments on that, because that's directly where I'm headed with it. The second aspect of the reason that I want to put it on there is we got a letter is it from the state and regarding potential funding sources for facade upgrades. We got
So I was going to bring that email up because
Yes.
Kim, Gary, and Mike Reynolds and I have all talked about that.
right,
The facade upgrades are only for
cosmetic.
businesses. The town handles an application for a local business, and it can't be for town property. But there are at least one other fund in that package that we may be able to use, and he's looking into the details now for I forget exactly what, but for something with Dealman.
Yeah,
Nothing to do with that.
I think that's a foundation.
So we used it for we used the fund twice for Dealman, and it seems like we may be able to pivot to over here.
Okay.
And look at things over here instead of Dealman for this go around. And it's not going to take care of all of it,
No.
but it may help with some of it. I doubt it's going to handle the bee removal and the electrical upgrades and stuff like that, but it may do the lead. It likely will do the foundation work if there is any that's necessary, and possibly even the roof or the brickwork. So that would be my suggestion, would be to ask Mike Reynolds if that qualifies, because it's still town owned. It's similar projects to what we're looking at over at Dealman. That may, because we thought the facade for Dealman was perfect, but it's only for a business. If Uncle Maddie's wanted a facelift, they would
business.
right. They would come through the town to access that.
Well, I mean, I think. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, to Councilman Nelson's point, the town has not maintained that building.
Right.
Going back in history, if you recall, when we bought this building, this goes back to when I first started here 7 years ago. When we were approached by Steve Lawrence about buying this building and moving out of town hall. And there was discussions back then, that was long before the fire department was interested in this for residential. There was discussions on what we were gonna do with the building back then. We were knocking it down, creating some additional parking, and there was no direction from anybody on the council in those time about what we were doing with the building until now we're putting in a grant for residential. So, I mean.
Well, here's the thing with that. It's been sitting, I don't oppose trying to do something with it. I mean, the project to me, in its general purposes, I think is a good one because it does help solve a problem with housing. I get that. But moving forward, we kind of took a step forward, and now it's not wrong to take a step back and look and say, hey, are we doing the right thing? But I don't want to get to a point where we don't do anything. Like, this thing has been sitting. We got to do something with it.
I think one thing we need to discuss is, or the council need to discuss is, what need is the building for the town currently, aside from residential use? We haven't had a need for it. We don't have a need. So why invest $150,000 in a building that's going to be used for residential that we're just going to spend money and be landlords? I've spoken my piece about this.
No,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know, and I find the timing that we bring up all these repairs quite interesting, right? When we get a new mayor in, because the other mayor was all for this, and mum was the word, and now all of a sudden, Mayor Cornick's getting hit with putting in the middle of the town manager and public works director who may not be in favor of this project, and the council who favored the project, and now we're at a standstill with a $150,000 bill. So I think maybe we need to talk about it. Maybe we need to all figure out how we're going to address it and move forward. I will say that using that building for residential work, I believe the term is workforce housing now, is going to be in the comprehensive plan based upon the new state of Maryland requirements that the town has to address. And this is giving us a leg up on that requirement that we don't have other places in town to address. So there is a benefit for the town as well, meeting state requirements that are being mandated on us that we just talked about Monday night.
Well, I also think that $150,000 is a lot of money, and we have to figure out what we're going to do. But we do actually already own that building, and we couldn't buy another building easily for $150,000. So, I don't think we should give up property that we have. The only other thing I think that maybe right off the bat, and Dana's not here, but I think the B thing needs to just get addressed. I don't know.
Using that building since
I know, but
like almost
so.
30 years. I think it's the same thing can be.
Before we get down, for the record, mom was not the word from me from the start.
No.
I'll give you that. But we did not see a blatant list.
No, you did.
Mayor Cornick was on the council.
Yeah. No, you mom wasn't the word in your, but we didn't. Let's put it this way. When we talked about the MOU, I specifically asked the question whether the building was in sound shape for us to utilize, and I was told we're in good shape. That's what I was told. And I'm not putting anybody on the spot, but the point is, and I don't take issue with people at this hour saying, hey, this might not be the best thing to do. I don't care about that. All I care about is I'm not in favor of tearing down what could be a historic building when we could find some viable use of the building. I just don't want to tear the building down. That's my opinion.
I agree with you.
To Councilman Hoffman's position about the initiatives put forth by the state, I think it answers all those points, and I want to be on board with that. I'm not saying this. These are my views on this. like them or not. I just don't think you tear down historic buildings in the middle of the town. I don't think you sell it and run the potential of somebody putting something in there that we're not favorable, or we don't find favor with. Once we sell that building, I'm assuming once we sell the building, if we were to sell that building, we wouldn't have control over what somebody put in there. What if it was something that you didn't want? Right next to town hall? I'm not gonna do that.
Have to meet any of the code or
Yeah, within
Yeah, but I
zoning,
mean-
but
The
yeah.
center's a pretty broad zone,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's where it is. Well, I mean, it's, obviously, I have no axe to grind, I haven't been here. But backing up doesn't necessarily mean you back away.
Right.
There may be other ways, there's more than just the town involved in this discussion.
Right.
And, back up and say, all right, we need to
Revisit
figure
it.
a way around this boulder.
Right.
We may not be able to move it, but let's see how we can plow around it. And I think that there's a lot of options, a lot of ways to skin this cat.
I think there's funding options out there. It's just gonna push the timetable back, which isn't the worst thing in the world to make sure that everything is sound over there. I mean, we're still searching for funding to finish this second half of that project anyway. So what's another year of looking and taking advantage of some other grants? Now, we know that they're not gonna be coming from the state
Right.
because of the state budget, but there is stuff out there that can be utilized.
I'll make the most obvious statement of the night and say maybe we're a little too ambitious on thinking that we're gonna move in by the end of the fall, So, I mean, but I don't feel, here's my official position is that I'm not under any pressure to move in by the end of fall. I'm all for doing our due diligence, and if we haven't done that to this point, I'm in favor of doing that. If we need to take care of our building in the meantime, I'm in favor of doing that. And if that means we have to spend some money I think we need to investigate those bees. If it means tearing down, see, when I look at the facade, I'm not sure if the joists are running, if they're just to the face of the building or if they're going all the way through the brick. Because if they're going all the way through the brick, there's a high likelihood that those bees are inside. And if they're inside, we got a bigger problem than we think we have. So your comments are very well taken and I agree with them. I think we really need to do some homework on it, but I also think we got to take care of the building. I mean, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying I think that.
So
It's a new day.
several years back, actually before we acquired this building, we talked about the old town hall being repointed. We talked about the leak in the roof. We had Bullock in the building to do core sampling in the old clerk's office because of mold concerns. So all these things are things that we talked about. What we're trying to do is quantify what it would cost to take care of the problems that exist within the building. We all know that the building didn't fit the expansion of the town and the staffing and everything like that, and that's why we purchased this building.
Right.
But as a group of individuals, we haven't made an effort to invest in the building, and it's been talked about several times. It kind of just got dropped off at some point.
I would agree.
Now there's new interest in it. What we're saying, does it make sense to invest in a building, put all the new stuff in it, and then not correct the exterior issues, and then have potential damages to all the new stuff?
Yeah.
We're not opposed to this arrangement at all. It's just, we have to do something to protect the future investment. So that's setting the record straight without accusations and everything like that. So I wanted to do that.
Well, certainly, I'm not shooting any accusations about blame, because I will say this, I think I was around long enough to remember something about pointing up the brick, and I don't know whether I was on the council or the planning session at the time. So if there's blame to go around, I think there's enough that we can all share in it, and nobody should be pointing any fingers because people are raising viable concerns about it. We just need to do something about it. And I think part of the first step would be we need to look for some funding to try to knock that 150 move around the boulder, like, you know, Attorney Ostrander said. And I think we start today by saying, you know, I talked to Mike, and he said that he just needs direction on what to apply for when it comes to that list of grants. But if there's stuff out there, you know, let's start looking for it. Does that sound agreeable?
The Dealman Inn grant, that we want to shift our focus from the Dealman Inn to this building, because former Mayor Roop had already put in an application for the next phase of Dealman Inn for its only basically design, architectural design and civil design of the above ground portion, because the foundation's already been done.
Yeah.
And I think that information, that was for, I don't know the exact amount, more than $150,000.
Was that not a step in the right direction, or?
Well, it was if you're going to put your efforts and money into that building. But
Can we do
shift it to this building?
Can we
we should probably do that.
Can we focus on two things? I mean, I mean, pardon my ignorance on it, but can we, you know, in talking to Mike about it, I got the impression that we could apply for more than one of the grants and apply for more than one project.
Yeah. And we got foundation money for the Dealman, and we got lead paint abatement money for the Dealman. So is that what you were talking about, Connor, when you were saying?
Well,
Yeah.
those are probably the last two that he mentions here.
Housing and community development money, right? Yeah.
Community Legacy Fund for this, or no, for over there. It's a little over $150,000 for the design and engineering for Dealman Inn that they've submitted. They are going through the strategic demolition fund portion of that Maryland grant package.
Yeah.
So it sounds like our main focus was on the interior improvements, and maybe we need to refocus and do both interior and exterior improvements and look at grants for that building. And then reach out to Mike and see what he says about funding opportunities that would help us. But I would say phase one would be exterior to protect the interior investment.
Absolutely.
So.
No, I'm when you said it makes no sense to switch that focus, you are absolutely correct. Knowing what I know now, I remember the pointing issues. I thought they were taken care of. The bees, gosh, they're like a fixture. I think we probably should charge tax for their residency here, because they do come back every year. Not to make light of the whole thing, I'm just saying
If they're honeybees, we can make some money.
Yeah. Can we do something about do we have to wait, or can we just get some prices to do something about the bees?
Yeah.
Can we just
move forward with the guy who can remove them and
relocate?
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
And he's a 40-year contract.
Yeah.
Again, his quote was based on visual inspection,
Right.
not tearing anything apart yet.
Right.
About $2,800.
Is he removing the facade, or is he repairing the facade?
$2,800 was to remove the facade.
Okay, so the facade comes off, doesn't get replaced, and for now at least.
And again, you don't know the extent of these, whether
Right.
it's going interior. Obviously, that he doesn't know that until he tears that apart.
Right.
Well, is he going to damage that facade? Is he going to rip it apart? It's never going to be able to put back up?
I mean, when he's
That's a whole nother
look at it before we?
can of worms.
Yeah.
The facade on the building is what everybody wanted to save.
Right.
And we're going to rip it off. And if Gary's correct that he's just going to rip it off because he's got to get in there, then it's going to have to be rebuilt from scratch. And finding someone to do that, the price is going to be huge.
Yeah. It's a lot more than $2,800, that's for sure.
So you said it was just a visual. Did he come out and get up there, or did
He came out and went upstairs next door, but he didn't.
And he still couldn't assess how?
He's pretty certain that the joists run, like I said, perpendicular.
Yeah, but I mean, he couldn't assess that whether they had gotten inside the building.
He said he has he uses a heat gun.
Okay.
But he did not have that heat gun with it. It can't work.
Can he come back and do an assessment? I mean, because if it's $2,800, I mean, I don't know what the 2,800 gets us if he doesn't know what he's really getting into. Okay, I appreciate it. I don't know. I don't know that I want to sign up for it if he says, "Oh wait, did I say 2,800? I meant 28,000." Like I don't know what he's. Yeah, I just like him.
What we're paying for and what we.
But again, the issue with just someone who's going to relocate bees is not, other than this gentleman who can do both.
Yeah.
It's not typical person to be able to do both. And you're not going to be able to get a contractor that's going to repair or replace that facade out here, even give you an estimate until the bees are gone.
Right.
So the timing is critical. You come out here, you take the queen, the rest of the hive goes with it, and you got X amount of time before you can get a contractor out here based on his schedule.
Yeah.
It could be months before they get back out here to do it, and the bees are back.
Right.
Well, if he can get the hive out through the existing hole, then I'm sure we can find a way to plug that hole with plastic or plywood or whatever around that hole. Because you're right, if we leave it open, we don't have bees, we're going to have birds. So we need to at least plug that hole. But if he comes out and tells us that, he's got to remove the facade because they're everywhere, then that's a whole nother level of problem.
Yeah, I feel like we need just a little bit more information to make a decision about that. But I think we need to start at least addressing it.
I think to remove the bees themselves was somewhere around $1,750 from one quote that we received.
I was just going to ask about that because if we're trying to save the facade no matter what, then we don't need to use the contractor beekeeper. We can just use a beekeeper and then have somebody that will come in to fix the fascia.
Plug the hole.
I may be
Simply plug the hole.
simplifying this, but man, I would think it doesn't have to be pretty because it's not permanent. That we could, I don't want to. Maybe I'll get up there and put plywood over the hole. I mean,
Your EpiPen.
well, we'll make sure the bees are gone first. But I mean, you got
David's got
you have
you.
a ladder I can borrow. Yeah. I guess the first step would be to get. Well, I mean, so the guy that said the 2,800 is different from the guy that you and I talked about was 1,750.
Yeah, that was just an extraction relocation.
So does that sound like a good first step? And then we can stage 2 would be put.
I mean, I would pursue that because the contractor is going to be removing
It's tearing the place
the
down.
fascia.
And we got
So if we're just looking to get the bees out,
And then plug the hole.
shouldn't matter who we're going with. And then we find somebody to repair or plug for now.
Let's do this. Let's have our friend that said 1,750 come take a look at it and assess what it would take. And then when he gives us a date, we need to be working on somebody coming out and putting plywood over that entire fascia so they won't.
I mean, we should be able to.
I will say this, there's ground molding that runs across the whole
Yeah.
front.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's almost a continuous piece and a channel underneath the main structure, the header we'll call it.
Yeah.
We think the bees are all the way across there.
Oh boy.
That's an assumption. So the 1,750 is based on easy access. I take this piece of molding off, I get in there. If they're inside the building where the mortar's damaged and they run parallel along the inside of the building on the roof, there's three ceilings in there upstairs.
Oh boy.
So that means we have to tear the ceilings down, and so we're talking about multiple potential phases, estimates, cost. It's one of those things you get your hands dirty and you see.
Yeah, I got you.
Well,
And that's the problem with the 1,750 estimate. there's no guarantee.
And that heat gun's not going through 3 ceilings, so you're gonna have to get to the original ceiling.
On top
no
of a
matter-
lead ceiling, which lead deflects heat and all
Right.
kinds of things. So that's the dilemma. So, and you know, us as staff dealing with this,
Yeah,
we wanted to bring it to your attention because it could be $1,750, it could go to $2,800, it could go to $3,000,
So
it could go to $5,000.
I might not be popular with the bee people, but what about tenting and fumigating?
$250.
$150 to exterminate.
Is that legal?
It is.
Mm.
But aesthetically and the public opinion on that would not be good. They guaranteed it for $250 because we went down that road too.
And every single resident that lives around close to us that watches this building, they know about the bees and they are requesting us to remove. They do not want to see us killing these bees.
well, I knew that was
We'll
coming.
get raked over the
I
coals.
can't say I,
Folks, I mean.
I don't really
that's
want to
just
kill the
not-
We'll
bees
get raked
either,
over
so.
the coals. Unfortunately.
There are over, we were told by 2 beekeepers, there are over 80,000 bees in that building from what they could see.
Oh my God.
80,000. So,
All for one queen? Wow.
Popular girl.
That facade's coming off the building if we're
and see,
removing
that's
the
thing,
bees.
Does the facade have to come off the building?
Yeah,
And then you fix the mortar, and then you put a new facade up? Do you try
Okay.
to save it? There's all these different scenarios that can happen, and that's why we wanted to bring it to your guys' attention.
That's all job one.
well, I think we need to get somebody to assess it before, as best they can.
But really, the only way to do that is to get a lift in and have them go up with the bee outfit and a lift rather than a ladder, right?
Right.
Because it's not safe.
Would they
And
be,
then if we haven't hired them as a contractor, and they're going up a ladder and something happens,
no, I'm,
who's liable?
No, we're.
no, I'm saying,
yeah.
do it the right way.
Yeah.
And if that guy, sounds like the guy that quoted us 2,800 is a contractor of some sort with insurance and the ability to rent a high reach, let him do it. And I don't think we have any choice but to assess where we are with it.
We talked about
Yeah, but I mean, we kind of,
And that
Shot that
2,800
down,
is the
didn't we?
town providing the lift.
Yeah.
Too.
well,
We were gonna rent one to save on cost, so.
yeah, that's what I was thinking before, but I thought that wasn't a good idea because we didn't want somebody up on our lift.
Well, you
It's not our lift, it's a rental
I mean, a
company.
rental,
Me
well.
up on the lift, but if you're talking about a business,
Yeah,
the business should have insurance.
Yeah.
Even if they're on our lift,
okay, yeah,
it seems to me.
that's what I was thinking, so. I don't think we can move forward without having some kind
To
of
find out what's going on.
true assessment on it.
So I was up there in a bee suit, what was that, 2 weeks ago?
I heard.
I
So
I heard all about it.
What if I got back up there in a bee suit and pulled the molding off and looked in there?
I mean, the molding you could do a heat gun. The molding you could do a heat gun. It's the question in my mind is if they're in the building, and you're not going to see that through 3 floors, because at this point, 80,000 bees are not fitting in 10 feet of molding. That whole facade's coming off, and the big question is: are they inside or are they still contained outside? So
The molding on the exterior is lead too, though, so you don't.
you'll pick it up. You're not looking through it. The bees are heating the wood up, and that's keeping it. I would almost say cut through 2 of the ceilings inside and try to get either an audio test inside to see if there's bees in the ceiling or use the heat gun. But I mean, that's without drilling holes, you're not getting a full picture.
I feel like we need nothing against you, Liam, but I feel like we need like a bee person to do some of
I
this.
do want to see you in the suit again, though.
Yeah, I saw the
We got
video.
pictures.
Oh, Maddie had a video of it.
Oh, did it? Okay. Well,
Do we want to authorize up to like the estimate to get a better picture of this, or because I think a better assessment's going to be invasive which is,
What do you're saying, was it just for like for fact finding?
well, like the $2,800 estimate.
Yeah.
Authorize up to that. They do $2,800 worth of work, and then if it goes deeper, then we reassess and we figure out what's going on. But I don't think they're gonna go through cutting holes for
What if
free.
we rented a lift, ask the gentleman to come out in the lift, do an assessment, we take pictures while we have the lift, if the town secures the lift, we'll take pictures of the exterior of the building, the mortar, the roof, the everything, and do a total assessment of the building, so we can put it in the mayor and council's folder, so you guys can see everything.
That sounds great.
That works.
A good start.
Wayne, not to add to the pile here for the building, where is that siren mounted? Is it on the brickwork or is it on the roof? So it needs to be moved when we redo the roof?
Don't start that.
We're already taking it
Connor.
for the roof. Might be worth looking at.
Starting on the horn tonight.
Do we want to get firm estimates from a variety of contractors to give you guys actual numbers?
Yeah, that would be very
on the
helpful.
repairs of the well.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes.
Listen, I appreciate you jumping through hoops,
Does-
and I definitely appreciate the what do we call it, the second look at this, or a fresh approach to it, because again, I want to move forward with the project, but I don't want to do it in a haphazard way. So yes to your answer, yeah, Director Myers. Does that satisfy everybody?
Yes.
Awesome. Good. All right. You guys tired?
Some more old business.
Yeah.
I think we have some
Yeah,
people signed
I
up.
know. What's that?
I have wanted to know the status of the 2013 Chevy.
I'm sorry. Okay, let's do this. We have an additional old business item.
Director Myers, could you give us the council the status of the 2013 Chevy?
The 2013 Chevy, we had 2 bids. The highest bid was $3,750.
That went through the closed bid process?
Yes.
You say
That was based on the former mayor's request.
Right. Do we have a name who purchased the vehicle?
I purchased the vehicle.
You got it?
Congratulations.
Good luck.
All right. You have anything else? Okay. All right. Anyone else have any items?
Oh, no.
We have residents, a resident or?
Technical difficulties.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am Savannah Mitchell. I am the owner and founder of Sunday Morning at Savannah's. My son is here also. Super happy to have him join me. Elijah. I am a new resident of New Windsor, 111 South Springdale Avenue, New Windsor, Maryland. And we opened literally our business less than 30 days ago. And we have a full service bed and breakfast and coffee lounge. And when I was doing my market research in the areas, I had noticed New Windsor did not have a lot of coffee options and or accommodations. And so we love this 200-year-old establishment that was previously called the Seasons at Magnolia. And so we had a couple of open houses, And I see several faces that came to visit us, specifically Deputy Sheriff McGinnis, Councilman Howard and his lovely wife came. Also, I've had meetings. I've met with the New Windsor Museum with Councilwoman Schultz. And also, I've had email correspondences with the U Mayor Cornick and also with U Town Manager Guy. I've had some email conversations and met Kim today this morning. So really excited about being here, opening up the opportunity for our business to be a community hub. Tomorrow is our official soft launch of the Coffee Lounge. We will be open Thursday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. We would love to see everyone come by. Our coffees, we are known for our coffees. They are smooth, sultry, and superior. And you can get it hot and iced because the weather just turned. So we provide iced coffees and delicious baked goods. And so I just wanted to invite you all and also introduce myself as the newest resident.
Well, welcome, and thank you for attending the meeting tonight, and my wife and I will certainly attend. We have you on our schedule to meet with you on June 17th.
17th.
Yeah.
17th.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we put a time. Did we say 10?
We did.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. Welcome to so you moved into New Windsor.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. So yes, we're looking forward to it. Certainly feel free to reach out to our wonderful staff, and you can reach out to me directly if you have any questions. There's something we can do to, answer questions or whatever. I think amongst the staff and our council, I'm pretty sure we'd be able to help you out.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Welcome. Yeah. Another resident concern or comment, question, for sure.
Just sign it.
You talking all right.
Name and address.
My name is Kathleen Childs, and
Okay.
I've been a resident of New Windsor for 12 years.
Welcome.
This is my first council meeting, actually. And I'm at 1178 Joe Apter Place
Okay.
in Atlee Ridge. So I actually had a question. You mentioned about the water, that there would be a new building, a tiered building.
Yes, and I am going to let Councilman Crock explain that to you right now, because this is his baby, and yeah.
He's the man.
That would be fantastic.
So I believe it's at 20,000 gallons. There's a tier pricing that kicks in where the water and sewer rates are $1 more per 1,000 gallons. So we've reduced base rates. So everybody will see, I think it's about a $60 decrease on the water bills. And then the usage rates have gone up to compensate for that. So heavier users will see higher usage rates, and your lower users are seeing a break.
Okay. Because my question is more that I actually moved, I still own my home, and my husband and I are going to actually remodel it. But I have moved up to Hanover, Pennsylvania, and I live with my husband, and I have for about a year and a half. And when I first moved here, water bill was about $86 a month. And since, now I'm not even in the house, and it's just, it seems to have gone up. And I'm kind of curious as to why. If I'm not there and I'm not using water or even the trash service, why am I still being billed this large amount?
So
It comes up to about $286 per quarter.
yeah, so the base rates have gone up year over year until 2021. When was that pause put in place? I think it was 2021. That was the last base rate increase. So to be connected to the system, you pay the base rate on a quarterly basis, and then the usage is on top of the base rate. The trash service is built into the property taxes.
Because like, my husband and I maintain the property, and it was planned to eventually to actually rent that out. And so I wanted to make sure that it's like that's actually feasible for us to do, because I want to keep it as an investment property. And I love the town. I love my house. And
So with the new water bill system, you'll see, again, it's either $60 or $70 that we reduce the base rate. You'll see that savings. Since you're not using any water at that residence, you'll see a $60 or $70 savings because of the base rate decrease.
Between water and sewer.
Yes, yes. Okay, yeah, so it's a $60 decrease.
The combined rate is $287 for both water and sewer. That's the base rate.
And the Bay Fund.
Anything in addition is what you're being, what you're actually using. So that's why your bill is still, I think you mentioned two something.
yeah, that was just a concern of ours, especially like we need to actually build that into the rental. But I wanted to make sure that it was actually being addressed, because it seems very exorbitant. I mean, like my electric bill is $14 last month. I mean,
You're paying for, there's a PowerPoint on the town website that the former mayor did. It has not been updated, but I think it goes up to about 4 or 5 years ago. And it explains the history of the system, and really in a nutshell, the town had to put in a new system in 2010, I think. Was that about right? Does that sound about right? And at the time, it was several $1 million. And of course, since then, you just heard tonight when you were sitting here, ongoing infrastructure expenses that have never stopped since that happened, including having to reline the tanks for, people keep calling it the new plant. I'm like, it's not new anymore. So, and what I always say to people is it's an economy of scale problem. It's a small town. There's only about 500 houses? Not even?
There's 739
units. 739 units paying for a multi-million-dollar water system. And that's really, it's like, it's great to live in a small town, but there's less of us to pay for things. And this is not a popular thing to say, and I don't have to be reelected for 2 years, but I'm just gonna tell the truth. The water bill is never going to go down a lot. What Connor did is probably like the biggest decrease that we've had in a long time, but it's an expensive system, and there's not a lot of houses to pay for it, and things cost what they cost. I mean, how much did the pump station upgrade cost altogether?
About $800,000.
$800,000. We just spent that this year.
There's no business.
And we have,
Sorry, I said you have minimal business.
yeah, I mean,
It's
yeah,
maximum residence business.
yeah. There's not a lot of businesses here, and, we don't have a lot of room for businesses because the downtown area is mostly residential, so.
I will say that it is a shock to the system, because when we first moved into our house 25 years ago, we were paying roughly $15 a month, at $45 a quarter. But with the upgrades to an aging water system and the infrastructure,
it was a shock to people who lived here too.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would think I was paying, I don't know, $80 a quarter, and it went to almost $400.
Yeah.
Like in a month, so.
Connor, one other thing about that, when I realized that I was going to be elected mayor, one of the things I wanted to be able to do is speak somewhat intelligently about, in comparison to like communities. We have friends that live in, of course, Smithsburg, that pay exactly what we pay. Same situation. I was shocked. My father lives outside of Chicago. They have his town has 26,000 people. He pays roughly $200 a month. And I said, Dad, you might want to get your pipes checked, because it sounds like you have a leak. But the reality of it is they have to bring their water from the Lake Michigan over to Bolingbrook, Illinois. sorry if I'm putting too much information out about my dad, but Bolingbrook, Illinois, and it's about 45 miles, and they had to pay for the pipes to run the water out to where they are. My sister lives in Gaithersburg, and she pays more than what we pay. I'm not saying that
You couldn't move someplace
Yeah.
and pay less, but
yeah, for sure. But what I'm saying though is, I know that's anecdotal evidence, but I've been doing. It's a common thing that what I'm seeing around is that water is just all of our utilities. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
And a lot of it is driven by state and federal regulations.
for sure.
And everybody wants their water clean, and everybody wants to be able to flush their toilets happily. But it's expensive, and the more regulations, and the more chemicals, and the more treatments, and the more.
Like, what do we pay for engineering per year, Wayne? What's the engineering that we have to pay for? What does that cost?
The engineering for,
That manages the chemicals and,
MES.
yes, thank you, I couldn't remember the name. $250,000 a year just to manage the plant.
We're licensed operators, which is required by the state.
I guess I'm quite less than over-informed.
You do not.
But, that was a major concern. I wanted to ask about, like, in terms of the traffic stuff, like, that is a really, had anyone ever considered, I know I don't want a stoplight, but question, is that possible?
It's a state road.
Didn't
Road.
Maryland run a study and they deemed it wasn't necessary? That was years ago. Yeah.
It used to be a stop sign.
It should be a four-way stop, but yeah.
And then they have, the state has all the criteria that they have to do in cost analysis to determine it. Believe it or not.
That's why we keep doing studies, because, you know.
And there's a lot of traffic through here, but on the state level, it doesn't register in terms of the criteria.
Yeah, they look at accidents, they look at deaths. Deaths have a lot to do with it. And
Thank God nobody has.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, yeah.
but that's
Yep.
statistics.
I think that the two biggest I've been on this council for 14 years, the two biggest issues that come up over and over and over again are water and traffic.
That's actually the first I've heard of the traffic. Even
Yeah, if you don't,
I've almost been hit over there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have.
And, it's awful.
Yep. Well, the house, the town wasn't built when cars existed.
Correct.
You know,
Well,
so,
there was also
yeah.
like, I know there's times that I've actually come by Maddie's and
The truck is there,
it's
yeah.
like, it's winter, it's slick, and I've gone to brake and slid into the intersection. So it's something to consider. And I'm glad
Definitely.
you're looking after that.
So I know there was the discussion, and forgive me if I'm overstepping or anything else, but I think there was a discussion about maybe possibly making Church Street one way.
Yep, what's it?
That
Yes.
That's one of the reasons I want to hear about the that's one of the reasons, somebody brought that up to me again this week, and that's one of the reasons I think we need to get some more data.
Yeah, now obviously
Yeah.
you would have to widen other roads, you know, I
Well,
don't know how that would look.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot, but it's like step, yeah,
That would probably help a lot,
it might,
but the data would have to.
yeah, we need,
Afford it, yeah.
I
Yep.
also wanted to just mention that my husband and I have a homestead, and we are beekeepers. And so
That's why you would not.
yeah, I was like 80,000, you say?
yeah.
Yeah, and so like I know a lot of, it could be a source of revenue if you could actually relook at what would happen if the town funded and actually built a real apiary, and then you could sell it, and then not only that, I mean, like Maddie's has a liquor license, and so you could make mead.
There's a meadery outside of town.
You need to come back and talk to us more about that another time.
Sure, sure. I don't know where they get their honey from, but I don't think it's our old building.
Email the mayor, his email address is on the
That would actually be a
website.
source of revenue for the town.
I'm open.
Yeah,
If
whatever.
he's interested, you know, if he has some information he'd like to send forward, I'll take a look at it.
Sure, I mean, I know people, and like, I'm part of the Carroll County beekeepers.
Holy moly.
Even though I would love to.
What a good night for you to come, right?
Well, I'm also the resident psychotherapist, and I worked for Montgomery County Crisis Center for over a decade, so I specialize in treating depression, anxiety, and trauma.
Do we look anxious? Because we are.
Those bees made me. You kind of do when you talk about that concrete truck.
Well, that, I saw the video of that, because I live right on, like, the house that's on the corner, that's my house. And I saw the video of it, and I heard it, because I was in my house. And when I saw that video, I thought that it's a miracle that woman's not dead. Because you see those big, huge trucks coming through town. Yeah, I know. Yeah, what's a state road?
So that's all I had.
Okay,
Other
well-
than like, cold.
Yeah, it was hot when we got in here. We turned the AC up.
Well,
After we finish, I'll get your contact information.
Sure, sure.
thank you, Ken. Yeah, thank you for attending tonight. Does anyone else have anything else? Okay. All right, do I have a motion or hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Done. These trucks.